All right, welcome everyone to the Solana Community Validator discussion. It's November 23rd, and our today is to go over some updates, basically just talk about version recommendations and testnet. We're going to talk a little bit about validator education. I'm basically just looking for people to help volunteer, help me run some of those calls. And then Sunny from JFactory and FP from Socian have a list of things that they want to talk about and discuss today. So the Solana Validator toolkit, stake pool as a service, Omnis, on-chain messenger, and the Solana Staking Alliance, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you are also at least in the Discord of. So a lot to get to today, a lot that they want to talk about. So the updates will be pretty brief, but as always, ask questions if you have things you're curious about. So the first update, 1.13.5 is now recommended for Mainnet. Anecdotally, I'm seeing better skip rates on that version and just some performance improvements for Quick, which is part of that release. So recommend upgrading. 61% of stake has already upgraded, but if we can get more on 113.5, that would be great. Also, just wanted to point out here that delinquency is now down to 1.93%, which is awesome from where we were about a month ago with Hetzner losing a lot of stake on mainnet. So congrats to everyone who, scrambled and got servers and got moved over. Appreciate all the hard work this past month. Any questions about mainnet before I talk about testnet? Okay.
Tim, I had a question.
Yeah.
What's next in the pipeline after Quick?
So more Quick for 1.14. There's other things as well, but the 1.14 will use Quick for other parts of the protocol. That one's still going through audit, so I don't want to give a timeline, but it'll be a ways, but they're working on it. Okay, so testnet is up again, which is great news. This unblocks a lot of important things. First of all, just testing the software, and also any feature activations, they have to happen on testnet first before they happen on mainnet. So really, really important. Again, thank you to all participants who got testnet up and running again. A special thank you to Sergo as well for coordinating 4 attempts at a restart. So really appreciate all the hard work to get testnet up and running again. One note here, as part of that restart, if you missed the detail, we used a flag in the Solana Ledger tool called warp slot, which essentially skipped ahead a certain number of slots to get to the next epoch. So if you're looking around in the Explorer or doing something else and you're just noticing a lot of skip slots in epoch 387, I believe, then that's the cause of it, just to be aware. One other note here, there's still a lot of delegation program participants who haven't restarted in testnet. Realize it's been hard with all the stuff going on, but if you could please restart as soon as possible. We're going to give people some leeway just because of the nature of everything that's going on, but we want to get testnet up and running and live again fully and not have so much delinquency. So the sooner the better would be really appreciated. Any questions on testnet? No? Cool. One note here about the educational workshops. I've found them pretty useful, and I think it creates some good discussion. I want to keep doing them. I've got a number of other things coming up as well, so I probably can't be the one that runs every workshop. So this is just sort of a call for anybody who wants to help volunteer, help teach a topic. Ultimately, if we teach other people in the community about things that you think are important, the community as a whole gets better. We get quicker doing restarts. Everything about sort of the validator community improves, which is our goal going forward, right? Is to make a a tougher, more resilient validator community. So anyway, if anyone's interested, if anyone wants to do that, let me know. We can talk over ideas, or if there's something you're really passionate about, happy to accommodate that. Cool. Yeah, looks like Soulblaze is volunteering someone else to teach, which is always a good thing to do. Yeah, so anyway, you can either DM me on Discord or set up some time on my calendar using Calendly, and we can talk things through. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Sunny from JFactory, FP from Socian. Like I mentioned, they've got all these things they want to talk about, so let them take it away.
Thank you, team. Hi, guys. Alex is going to share his screen, and I'm going to be a talking head for tonight. Alex, if you would please. Thank you very much. So, some of you probably know our SV Manager solution, which is our first project on Solana ever, which started early last year. It was initially just a bunch of scripts in Ansible and Bash to help new validators set up their first node. So instead of going through various guides all over the internet and coming up with an ad hoc configuration that does not match in any way from one validator to another, they used our scripts, and in 15 minutes you go from a fresh empty server to a running validator. And most important, you have everybody who used the SV Manager had the same configuration. It was very easy to help them in our chat should they run into any problems. So this is how it started. We added a dashboard, monitoring, alerting, and now we are moving towards version 2.0. We rebranded it SVT, or Solana Validator Toolkit. It will, apart from the upgraded monitoring and also maintenance functions, it will have an option to use a fallback server. So if anything happens to server in the data center, for example, like the fire that we had last year in France, a fallback server is activated and your validator runs there within a very short time. Automatic version upgrade, if you decide to activate that. Automated cluster restart or cluster restart via Web3, so you can do it on the road from your mobile phone. An accounting module for the validator to help you with your finances. It will also include an integrated on-chain messaging protocol, which is used for communication between your Web3 dApp that you use to manage your node on the go, and the server-side agent, which is installed on your server and actually does the management of the validator. The same messaging protocol will be also used for secure and private validator to delegator and vice versa communication. By the way, we're also building a separate app on-chain messenger based on the same protocol. It's an open alpha right now, so if you want to check it out, here it's Cgram, like chaingram, cgram.1. It will also include the possibility to integrate additional modules developed by third parties. The first of such modules will be kind of validator booster created by the team of Bloxroute that improves the performance of the validator by enabling it to receive the shreds faster, so it votes better. It more often votes the right way. Last but not least, we are working on integrating SVT with data centers. Like, for example, Shakura is already using SVT to bootstrap new Solana validators. That was about SVT. Now, the reference stake pool, which you also may have heard of, is our free code base that anyone can take and use to bootstrap their own Solana stake pool within days. Just
Hey,
add
Sunny,
yes,
can I ask a quick question about SVT?
sure, sure.
What's the backup option? Is that like, do you have to have a server already in a
The
data
fallback,
center, or go ahead?
even the fallback.
Yeah, the fallback server.
I'll jump in here. If we want to, the plan setup will work on that one you as the validator should have two servers, one main server and one backup server. And then if the main server fails for some reason, then the automatic startup of the Solana validator will be performed on the fallback server.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not like a spot instance. It's you
Yes.
have to have two servers at a time.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
So can I ask a follow-up? Is that part of this, the SVT tool then? So we get this and then we have our first and second server and that will automatically fail over to the second one?
You should configure all of our both services by your own with our SVT toolkit, but everything else will be managed automatically.
Great.
And it will be open source sensible scripts. That means you actually can do it by your own. If you want to use our Web3 frontend, you can do it. If not, you can just use the Ansible scripts to manage it by your own.
Okay. Any more questions to the SVT while we're at it? You guys know you can always reach out to us on Discord, on our support group in Telegram for the SVT. Anyway, okay, so I was talking about the reference stake pool. As I said, you add your own delegation strategy, you add your branding, like a couple of logos. You have a fully running stake pool on Solana. And we are right now creating a solution based on the reference stake pool code base, where you can use it to turn any validator into, well, not a stake pool, but your validator will be able to issue staked SOL tokens, so liquid tokens, just like JSOL or SN SOL, the same from a single validator. Obviously, such a token is not of much use to a delegator because it is not integrated with DeFi platforms like Atrix or Orca or Solana or whatever, which is where we come to the topic of Omnis Sol, kind of lending type solution where you get Omnis Sol by putting up collateral in form of pretty much any staked Sol. It can be a simple staking account. So just you delegate to any validator. You have your staking account in your wallet. You can use that as collateral to get Omnis Sol, or you can use JSOL, SN Sol, whatever staked Sol, including any staked Sol from any stake pool based on the reference stake pool, because they're all using Solana Foundation's program. They're all legit automatically. They can all be used as collateral to get OmniSol, which in turn will be integrated with the DeFi platforms. And this is where I would like to pass on to FP, who can explain this part better in more detail. And thank you. FP, will you take over?
No, we can't hear you. Any other questions while FP rejoins?
Can you guys hear me? How about now? Is it better?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hey folks. Yeah, so I kind of wanted, so Sonny is explained the what, I want to explain the why, right? Like in some sense, what's the point of all of this stake pool stuff? What's the point of all of this SPL? Like why would a validator want to run their own sort of stake pool? So I kind of wanted to give a little bit of context to that, right? So for the longest time, you had sort of this trade-off between sort of liquid staking and sort of regular staking, right? With regular staking, you control where your stake goes. It's safer. And with liquid staking, you get it as an SPL token, so it's sort of tokenized. You can move it anywhere, including in DeFi. But also crucially, you can sort of unstake it instantly without sort of paying without having to wait a couple of days. And that was sort of the fundamental trade-off, right? Now sort of the paradigm has shifted a little bit, right? Because on the one hand, I don't know if you guys are sort of familiar with the kind of the discourse that's been going on about the one sol minimum, and part of that whole idea is to really try to reduce the number of stake accounts. And now, in fact, sort of the labs team is actually thinking about going even further than that, and sort of making every validator sort of set up their own stake pool, their own sort of one-of-one stake pool, right? And such that every validator only has one stake account, right? And that's kind of the new paradigm that we're working with right now. And this is about to come in the sort of the next few months, right? And I think this is going to be a huge paradigm shift in terms of how staking works on Solana. So that's the first thing I would say, sort of why this kind of stuff is why sort of we're building this kind of stuff, right? And to that end, I think Omnisol and related solutions are trying to solve the problem of, okay, now you have all of these sort of stake pool tokens, what can you do with them, right? Because there isn't sort of sufficient liquidity. There's 2,000 different validators with 2,000 different tokens. Like how do you work with them, right? And so the solution that sort of we've come up with is Omnisol, which is sort of a single token that sort of allows all of the stake accounts and all of the stake pool tokens to come together in the same in the same single token. So you share the liquidity in the way. That's one way, right? We have another way, right, which is what we call unstake it. And sorry, Tim, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, one sec. So we've built this thing out here. Sorry, can you guys see my screen?
Now I can.
Okay, so this is unstake it. We built it a couple of months ago, right? And this, I don't know if you guys have seen it before, but this basically allows you to sort of unstake your any stake SOL account or stake pool token in the very near future. Will be able to access sort of like all of the liquidity that's available for instant unstake, right? So if you click this, basically you gotta wait for it to load, I suppose. But basically this will sort of route through all of the best routes available on Solana to give you sort of the best price for your SOL. And very soon we'll be able to sort of support we'll be able to sort of so you can see here sort of these are the numbers you can get in terms of sort of how much SOL you have. And we have something coming up soon, which is that we will support sort of all routes or for all XSOL. So when you set up your validator stake pool, your one-of-one stake pool, it will support it natively. So SCN Sol, Lane Sol, Eversol, JSol, it will sort of allow you to access all of the liquidity that's been already provided there, and you can make use of it yourself. So that's kind of where we're going with this, right? There's a new paradigm of each validator having their own stake pool, and the solutions that we're building with regards to unstake it, with regards to Omnisol, they're all trying to solve the issue of how do you make sure that you don't have 2,000 useless tokens, right? You have 2,000 useful tokens that are all interoperable with one another, that all share sort of liquidity, right? And such that you can have a thriving ecosystem where every kind of stake SOL token is well well utilized in the ecosystem for DeFi, for lending, what have you. That's yeah. So that's so. Are there any questions at this point?
Yeah, I have a question. So with the last month, there's been a lot of things happening, and I personally would say that if the market's not safe, like people may go to native staked, right? Because if they're not sure if DeFi is working or if MSOL is maybe it's not going to have enough liquidity. So if we're going to stake pools, how are people still retaining that non-custodial ownership? Is that a concern?
Yeah. So when we say sort of moving to stake pools, we don't mean getting your validators to deposit into someone else's stake pool, right? That's not what's happening here. So if you have a validator, right? So what would happen is that you would run a stake pool of your own, right? And that stake pool would be a one-of-one stake pool. So it only delegate to your stake pool, right? And if they trust you, then they will trust sort of that stake pool. And Labs is actually building a way in which there's a program that controls this, so it's like completely sort of like trustless. And so that stake pool only delegates to you. So you're not it sort of there's no risk about that stake moving to someone else's soul. Does that make sense? Like it's only going to be with your validator.
So if my validator went out of business, could the delegators get their SOL back?
Yeah, absolutely. So the program is the single instance of the program is held. The upgrade authority is held by the Solana Foundation. That in a couple of months, that upgrade key is going to get burnt, right? So like nobody can sort of edit it anymore. And so the contract will then guarantee that whatever stake SOL is put in will be sort of redeemable back, right? Like just a regular stake account, right? In that sort of normal way. Yeah. And what I'm mentioning here with regards to unstake it and OmniSol is the fact that, okay, like you don't have to set up your own markets for your particular that's not something we want sort of 2,000 validators to do. Instead, what you can do is share the liquidity that have already been sort of created and incentivized by big players like Mainnet and Lido, but also smaller players like Social and JPool, which sometimes give you better prices, right? And so you don't have to set up a Serum market, Radiant market, all this rubbish, right? You should just plug in into that same sort of liquidity if you want the instant liquidity, right? But if you don't, right, it's always an option to pull out the stake account and wait a couple of days, just like native staking. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So I have a white paper of OmniSol that is out. I love people to look at it and give some comments and see if sort of we can get this circulated around. The last thing I would like to sort of talk about before I hand over is the staking alliance. I don't know if you guys have heard about the staking alliance, but loosely speaking, the alliance is a group of loosely speaking, the alliance is a group of sort of people who are interested in staking and interested in making staking better on Solana. Now, what that right now what that looks like is a bunch of validators just talking on Discord, right? Which is great, but it's not not quite where we want to be, right? But eventually, I think this is something that could be a force for good, right? So here's something that might be of interest to validators, especially smaller ones, right? The foundation has expressed an interest in moving away from the foundation delegation program, right? In part due to sort of centralization risk, and also because they think that the community should govern sort of where the stake goes. And so the staking alliance is now I'm writing a proposal to the foundation to talk about like, hey, can the foundation delegate some part of their SOL holdings to the staking alliance, right? Which would be sort of non-profit. It's not meant to make any money, right? It's really meant to be an organization of people who are interested in staking, right? So we're not going to issue a token. It's not going to go to the moon, nothing like that, right? It's but the point would be that the staking alliance would then delegate this SOL to smaller validators and good validators, right? Validators who are interested and have shown consistently that they've contributed to the ecosystem. So So if that's something that interests you, if that's something that you really want to be part of, please join the alliance. We also have lots of other sort of things that people are interested in. So, for example, building Omnisol. For example, thinking about how sort of validators should think about MEV, for example, and that. But basically, yeah, in general, if there's something about staking that you haven't, for example, Zantetsu, he's really interested in that sort of the changes that he made with regards to vote lagging, and there's a discussion on that too. But so basically, if there's anything you're interested into talking about with a bunch of validators, I think this is the place to be. Yeah.
Question about that. Is there going to be some sort of governance for the staking alliance? Like how will you decide to distribute funds in the pool?
Yeah, so it's a great question, right? And I think the important thing for us is that I see it first as governed by social consensus, right? Like whoever is interested and committed sort of should join the alliance and sort of contribute that way. And with regards to the specific delegation strategy, that I think the most important thing is not to look like we're self-dealing, right? Because the people who are most interested in staking tend to be validators. And if we're deciding which validators to delegate to, there really can be sort of accusations or like it's potentially not a good look, right? It's a conflict of interest. And I think what then needs to happen is that so in our proposal, we're sort of proposing a bunch of subjective and objective criteria for sort of receiving stake, right? And these may include sort of like, okay, you have to you have to have someone else has to vouch for you. What one example could be you have to have a demonstrated history of contributing to the ecosystem, whatever that may be. So maybe that's building open source stuff. Maybe that's being active in channels and so on. And another sort of requirement that we're proposing is, and this is something that the foundation really wanted, which is that validators should have a plan to move towards self-sustainability, right? So you don't sort of suckle on the foundation teeth indefinitely. You have a plan to like, okay, I'm gonna get the stake from the foundation, and then within 6 months, within 12 months, I'm gonna have a plan to grow my holdings, my stake in such a way such that I don't need the stake anymore. And sort of these requirements, hopefully, they're not sort of purely quantitative. They're somewhat subjective in nature, but contribution in general is never sort of just numerical, right? So, but these criteria, hopefully, because they're transparent and they are sort of open to everybody, the hope is that helps to mitigate accusations of sort of self-dealing. That's kind of where we're going for. Again, the proposal is currently written. We're currently writing the document, right? Everybody's free to weigh in. The Google Doc link, sorry, the Notion doc link is open. So I would love to, I welcome all of your comments and we can table it together. Yeah.
I have a question, FP. Who's going to manage this? Because it sounds like when there's quite a lot of subjective qualifications that somebody has to look at it, right? Somebody has to decide. Somebody has to look at the validator business plan. So are you guys planning on doing that for free, or are you going to take a fee, or how does that all work?
I don't know. That is a good question, right? Like, who's paying for this? Whose time is it taking? Right now, like, we're doing it. Like, I'm running the Twitter, I'm running the Discord, like we're doing all of this stuff, right? I'm not sure if eventually we'll be able to get some sort of grants, perhaps from the foundation or something, or perhaps some validators, so like Chris from Chainflow, they've mentioned that they'd be willing to actually give some money to chip in, like as like a charitable donation, right? Because they're interested in sort of seeing this succeed. I mean, that's great, right? I don't know if this is sustainable. One of the thoughts that I had was that maybe like the alliance can come together to build public goods, right? So something like alerting, something like Omnisol, right? And then the revenues generated from this stuff, right, could be sort of used to be pumped in back into the alliance and used to sort of pay grants, fees for the people who are spending their time on the alliance. Yeah, so those are some of the ideas. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't actually have a good. But fundamentally, like, the alliance shouldn't be to make money, right? Like, it should not be. I think if once it starts making a lot of money, then a lot of grifters start to come, and that might not be the right vibe or the right sort of community that we want to cultivate. Yeah.
I think from my perspective, it's not about making money. It's making sure that you're not working for free and doing all this stuff. I mean, we already see how much work Tim is putting in, managing the delegation program, and that's with completely objective, bot-based qualifications, and that is a tremendous amount of work. So it's I definitely think it needs to be self-sustainable, because you could start it up and then maybe 2 months later you're suddenly like, oh man, this is a lot of work, I'm doing it for free, and then you'll stop it, and it's human nature, right? So I like the idea of at least coming up with something to make it self-sustainable, and maybe that's something I can help you with too, as part of the alliance, is I can maybe draw a business plan to maybe make sure that there is some funding towards the people that are actually doing this thing. Something I thought about too,
that would be great. Yeah,
is it's almost, if you wanted to keep in the ecosystem, then perhaps if you were running a staking alliance validator, then the Solana Foundation could, I don't know if they do a delegation outside of the foundation program, but let's say they delegated 1 million SOL to you, right, to the staking alliance, then you could use the funds from the validator that you're running to help fund all of these things.
I mean, with a stake pool, you could do it even simpler. You could charge a management fee on top of the stake pool and just take it like that. You wouldn't have to spin up a valid. I mean, the idea is the same, but I'm just saying there's a simpler way that doesn't involve spinning up your own validator. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, that sounds great. I'd love to have you, like, I mean, the links are on the, I'll send you the links. I mean, maybe they're already on the forum. Yeah, the Discord link. Thanks, Soblaze. And then there's also forum.org.
So one thing I recommend with these kind of, like, I deal with a lot of yoga people, and there's a lot of people who are volunteering their time for free. And one thing that I'm telling everyone to do is just to, if you can record your time or write down your time, and then you can have an idea of how much work you're actually putting into it, and then that can help kind of form the basis for how much you should be getting paid, or at least work out that, because even nonprofits, they have to pay their employees. That's like one of the number one rules. And I'm in Bristol too, and I have a lot of nonprofits there. Well, I have a lot of friends in nonprofits. That Bristol is in the UK, and it's very nonprofit focused. So I can always chat with those guys and ask them about how, like, they form their models for paying their employees while still maintaining nonprofit, and they're happy to help other nonprofits. I think there's definitely a lot of really good information out there.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, please, maybe after the call we can, if you can drop your Telegram or something, and then we can chat.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, Tim, that's all from me, I think. I mean, the Omnisol technical white paper is quite technical. Maybe we can table that for another day after people have had time to read through it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Any other questions about any of the topics we talked about? Looking for Brian's Discord. I'll let you. So yeah, I think that's it for the call then. All the contact info should be in the chat, and I'll also copy this down and put it in the Validator announcement channel as well. So thank you, FP. Thank you, Sunny, and good seeing everyone. It's nice to see everyone on video. So see you all next time.
Thank you.
Team, bye-bye. Good night, everybody.